Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection, and today we'll be recapping the second month of Marvel's current line-wide event, King in Black. Now, just like with last month, we will be looking at the various at King in Black and its various related various tie-in comics in as close to a chronological order as possible. Meaning we will be starting with King in Black Namor, number 3. Basically, the Swift Tide has been infected by an ancient Atlantean artifact and mutated, and it's also messed with their personalities, and so now not only are they attacking Atlanteans, but it's decided that Namor, Dorma, and Attuma will basically tell the tale of what happened. And then Ambrose, Dorma's pet, tries to get basically detectives. They are curious about the source of what changed the Swift Tide into the Black Tide, and is killed going in to investigate. Anyway, so it's decided, however, that they need to warn Atlantis of what's happening, and while they find a makeshift chariot, Attuma suggests they get a couple of whales to drag them, but Namor says, "No, hey, look, I'm super strong. I'm stronger than Atlanteans, than most Atlanteans. So, and I can, and I swim faster than any whale. So yeah, I'll drag the cart." But what they find is the remains of a massacre. In the present, Namor passes back through the same area with his modern advisors, and apparently the area now there's. The region has a saying: "Stay clear of Imperial concerns. They come with blood and teeth." But using his with the aid of of the other defenders of the deep, Namor is trying to track down the Black Tide. Back in the past, the Black Tide come upon Atuma's people and massacre them. The chieftain summons forth a sea dragon, which the Swift Tide which the Black Tide promptly massacre. And when Namor, Attuma, and Dorma arrive, they find the remains of a massacre. And Attuma hefts the skull of the sea dragon. Basically, it sets up. Okay, this is how Attuma got his the skull headpiece that he wears. It's the skull of the sea dragon. In the more recent past, we have SpiderMan number 3. The ebony blade had been stolen by an entity pretending to be Merlin, and Black Knight run through. Spidey attempts to. The entity that stole the ebony blade has also stolen a Quinjet, which Spidey tries to stop it, and Spidey tries to stop him, but he fails, and is picked up by Kang. However, Spidey at least knows who the hell Kang is and responds in kind. But get a nice little bit of, hey, look, for once, we're on the same side, okay? I'm actually here to help. Sometimes Kang can be not as bad a guy. And then Spidey meets Rocket. But they've got Black Knight in stasis. They are trying to help him. But they have someone else who's possessed by one of the creatures as well. And the symbiote-ish thing is ejected from Rocket's ship into the sun, and it turns out it's been possessed. It was controlling Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. Who also attacks Kang, but yeah, Rocket talks some sense into her. And finally, of course, she still isn't entirely buying that he's not entirely to blame, and Kang finally asks her a simple question. Who would I rule if everyone were dead? And well, yeah, there's no real answer. So it turns out they have to go to nowhere. And they need to get they need to find someone who can potentially destroy, who has the knowledge to potentially destroy oh, they realize that's where the Ebony Blade is being taken to a blacksmith by the name of Alicia, who turns out to be none other than the sister of Ulick, who shows up wanting to kill his sister. Because, well, yeah, Ulick. Then we've got Venom, number 32. Venom is probably, of all of the books tying into King in Black, Venom is probably the most important of them, and to be fair, it's also the one where you can best tell where it takes place in the timeline of the story, because it basically it takes place during and between issues of King in Black. So yeah. So Eddie Brock died. And now he's trying to fight his way back to life. Flashing back to when Null controlled his when he was imprisoned in his mind by Carnage back on Carnage Island. But yeah, he ends up in a Mindscape version of Symbiote of the Symbiote covered New York, and Rex Tyler's there, or not? It's not Tyler, is it? And yeah, Rex is there. Eddie tries to save some people, but he passes right through them. Tries to stop one of the symbiote dragons and passes right through it. Then Rex, it turns out that they're in the hive mind, and they're seeing all the people that Null has managed to take over with the symbiote goop. And then Rex lets Eddie in on the fact that he's, well, dead. But you know what? Being dead ain't gonna keep Eddie down. So he's gonna continue to try to take the fight to Null. First off, they gotta find his other. Though Rex says that finding it isn't going to be the issue because, well, yeah, Null's got it. Getting it and freeing it, those are going to be the hard parts. But he's going to have some backup in trying to get he will have some backup trying to get his other back. Rex. And Flash Thompson, formerly known as Agent Venom, formerly known as Agent Anti-Venom. Next, we've got Spider-Woman number 8. Basically, the serum that Jessica Drew's been taking has been affecting her emotionally, and it's been making her more callous and a bit more violent, especially even towards her friends. And eventually, her friends put her in a Hulk tank. By which I mean the type of tank that Bruce Banner would be put in, so that when he hulks out, the idea being he'll be stuck there. He won't be able to get out. And shortly after that is when one of her more recent nemesis, Octavia Vermis, showed up. So Jess breaks her way out to attack Vermis, who's got some of her serum. Jess takes the serum. And it turns out that Vermis needs Jess's help. So they work together. They fight Hydra, Stegron, Hydra and Stegron, and then also go after some info at one of Tony Stark's safe houses. And then Jess and Vermis go to Octavia's daughter's volcano lair. Well, actually, it's not the volcano lair of Octavia's daughter, but rather the volcano lair of the High Evolutionary, who has a boatload of clones of Jess's mother. That's not weird at all. Next up, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy number 10. So, at the proscenium, the Guardians have been informed of Null, and the fact that Null is basically making his way through the galaxy and just destroying planets. Well, not like wiping out the life on planets as he goes through. So, and it looks like there's another planet right in the direct path. So, the Guardians go to save said planet. The planet being Spartax. The evacuation is not going well. At all. However, someone has, as they're working on evacuating Spartax, Star-Lord returns. And he's attacked by one of the symbiote dragons and uses his new element gun to destroy it. But Moondragon briefly somewhat connects with Null, but yeah. So they face another one of the symbiote dragons. This time, Pete goes in the dragon. And blows it up from the inside. Basically telling Null to eat it. But that saves Spartax. It suggested that the Guardians go to help out. And Star-Lord says, no, bad idea. Can't do that. We'd only make everything worse. Adding that, he's not the only one who's back. The alternate Greek gods that they were facing when Peter supposedly died, they're back too, and they're coming for Peter. Which brings us to Daredevil number 26. So, full disclosure, I don't read Daredevil regularly. It's not that I dislike the character, it's just that usually, it seems most times when I get back into comics, is generally the point where, with Daredevil, you're right in the middle of a run. So, I was like, and I don't want to have to first go back and reread everything. So, I just kind of wait until either I get back out or the run ends and a new one begins, which is like what I'll do this time. But Mayor Fisk has outlawed mass superheroes except for Spider-Man. Daredevil is in prison. However, this time he's in prison as Daredevil. He's not in Rikers as Matt Murdock during the beginning of the Brubaker run. And he's people watching, and yeah. But turns out the Warden is the father of an old Daredevil villain, Crime Wave. And while he doesn't blame Daredevil for his son's actions, he actually says, "Hey, my son was hurting people, needed help, needed to be brought to justice, just like you do." Meanwhile, out in Hell's Kitchen, Elektra has taken on the mantle of Daredevil and is doing things Matt's way, much as she hates to do so. I.e., not killing criminals, which again she's feeling these people deserve it, but I'll do it. Oh, fine, I'll do it your way, Matt. I'll do it your way, Matthew. And then the King in Black arrives. Elsewhere in New York, Mayor Fisk is at a social function with his chief of security, Mary Walker, as well as his chief of staff, Wesley Owen Welch. And the King in Black attacks. Mary's not too big on reading security briefings. She will just react. And so when one of the dragons crashes down into the street, and a whole bunch of symbiote drones pop up, she just goes on the offensive and is promptly overwhelmed and possessed. At Rikers, Daredevil detects the arrival of some of the symbiote goop, really similar to Venom, but not. Um, young girl named Alice and her estranged stepmother. It's one of those things I probably know what's going on if I had been reading Daredevil, but the daughter is underage and at a bar and well should not have been served when you know the mother goes to save her to drag her out, but then again King in Black arrives. The mother the we'll just say the mother is taken over by some of the symbiote goop, and Elektra saves the young girl and does what she can to basically get the girl away from the other symbiotes. In Rikers, Daredevil manages to convince the guards to let him out so he can take on the symbiotes. However, out on the streets, Elektra has to deal with another symbiote. This one possessing none other than Typhoid Mary Walker. And in Rikers, Daredevil's overwhelmed by the symbiote drones and gets taken over and becomes one with it, having a bit of a conversation with Null, and coming out looking really friggin' badass. Like that should be if they reprint this issue with that as the cover, I will likely buy the second printing just for that. That is friggin' badass. Next up, we've got Savage Avengers number 17. One of two tie-ins from this past month featuring Deadpool. So after the recent events in the events of Savage Avengers 16, Conan went to the bar with no name. Well, apparently he picked a fight, got arrested. Null arrived. He met Deadpool in jail. Took advantage of Deadpool's healing factor to allow for a breakout. And he and a few of the others managed to escape. Or one of the others at least. They start making their way towards the city, or back towards the city, but yeah. They also pick up a few weapons along the way, as well as the gear of one of their compatriots, the Night Flyer. But they're attacked by one of the symbiote dragons, and it seems to be the same symbiote that Conan encountered in the first few issues of Savage Avengers. Now, seeing Conan covered in symbiote goop and kind of fighting the symbiote goop, Night Flyer's like, yeah, this is above my pay grade. I'm out. Deadpool was like, oh, come on, you're gonna leave me with this crap? Come on. And after dealing with all of that, apparently, Deadpool makes it back to Staten Island in Deadpool number 10. And in doing so, he put together a team of Monster Island badasses, as well as his current would-be love interest, Elsa Bloodstone, to go after the King in Black. So the team ends up being Mr. Frosty, who loves cold puns, Call Out the Pile, monster made up of tiny man baby monsters, Bun Bun the Destroyer, suggested eating Jeff once. Chet Morita, human guy, good dude. Quanian, more alien than monster, but Deadpool's not picky. Nightwolf, sometimes a wolf, sometimes a man, mostly a wolf man. Fishhead is a fish man. Elsa Bloodstone, Monster Hunter. It's awkward, they know. Zurgo, son of Orgo the Unconquerable. Jet the Land Shark is a shark, walks on land. Shiny, but only in the mouth, but maybe only in the mouth area. Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool, king of the monsters and ruler of Deadpoolopolis. On their way to go face off with Null, they encounter the members of the Dio Monstri cult. We're just like, hey, this is like ordained and stuff, so go out there get. Just so you know, you're supposed to go out there and get yourself killed. Then monster and Deadpool says, no, that's not that. Pretty sure this isn't your monster apocalypse. This is Venom stuff. Read a comic book. He actually does tell them to read some comic books. Mr. Frosty gets eaten by one of the Symbiote dragons, and some of the goop from it lands on Jeff, turning him. Also, some of it lands on Deadpool's arm, and he takes the Ashley J. Williams approach and slices off the lower half of his left arm. Oh yeah, I forgot. Sauron, the X-Men villain Sauron. He is also joined the team. I did forget about that. Where did that? Yep. Okay, I completely forgot about Sauron. Yeah, Sauron joined the team as well. I forgot. His thing is making turning people into dinosaurs. But then Jelby, a monster who also happens to be a mutant, shows up and basically figures, hey, maybe I can help. First, he's managed to get Jeff out of harm's way, though Jeff is still symbiote possessed. Then he grows to a large size, and they says everyone jump inside of him. And so, yeah, Deadpool takes all the credit, calling it like a giant Deadpool Voltron, and yeah, they beat the snot out of the symbiote dragon. But they push the symbiote dragon into a sinkhole, and then Jelby jumps in there and puts the symbiote dragon into himself, freeing Deadpool. And then, of course, they have to, fix. And so, they somewhat save the day, but they still have to deal with Jeff, who is still symbiote possessed. And of course, what, as we know, is the weakness of the symbiotes? Sonics. Or, simply put, loud noises. Like, the Wu-Tang Clan at full blast on a gigantic speaker. That's about, a foot and a half away from the target. But yep, Jeff is saved. And sadly, the title has come to an end. No, really, this is the final issue of the current Deadpool series. Which sucks because I was really digging Kelly Thompson's run. I was really hoping to see more, mainly so I could, keep on, hearing her talk about how Jeff is loved and Jeff is life on Twitter. Next up, we've got the Union number 2. Yeah, Union number 1. So we actually go with some flashbacks showing how which one is it? How Britannia managed to recruit the Choir. In the present, in the wake of Britannia's death, Union Jack is leading what remains of the Union against the now nullified, so to speak, security forces. Does not go all that well. And in fact, Choir gets nullified as well. Then, of course, there was the whole part where, Null covered the Earth in symbiote goop, so, no sunlight. The team made their way to an amusement park where various nullified forces are attacking, and they, basically, Union Jack and the other members of the team have some very different views on what is and isn't acceptable heroic actions. Kelpie uses her water manipulation powers to hit the immune part with a tidal wave. And then, while Union Jack is talking with the nullified Choir, he's tossed Britannia's sword, which has a live wire wrapped around it. Union Jack plunges the sword into the water, the still standing water, and basically electrocutes all of the everyone who's been nullified, taking out the symbiote goop so that they're back to normal. However, shortly after that, Choir, Kelpie, and Snakes all quit. And Union Jack is informed that, yeah, he's had to put, that, and he's got to, he's contractually obligated to put the team back together now or end up in the Tower of London. In fact, he has to have them ready for a full public presentation by the end of the month, or locked up in the Tower of London for the rest of his miserable existence. I'd say Union Jack's got Jax has work cut out for him. I actually really like this version of Union Jack. Of course, it's the only version of Union Jack I actually know, but I'm aware there was a previous one back during World War II who operated with Captain America, which is interesting because the current one also operated alongside Captain America during Brubaker's run on Cap. Which brings us to Sword number 2. Sword, sentient world observation words. So a nullified cable is basically checking out nullified New York. As he was part of the X-Men's Krakoan response, or attempt to stop Null, and, well, all the attempts to stop Null so far have, failed. Director Brand is trying to, basically trying to figure out what to do. And we discovered that Mentallo is part of the Sword crew. There's some personal notes from Brand about Mentallo, explaining that she wants him to think that he's the best telepath she can get. And explains he's a criminal of the core, and she's not saying that as some moral statement from atop her lofty high ground. It's true. If Mentallo were a telepath, he'd be a con artist or a second story man. The mind reading just gets him invited to a fancier class of heist. He's never cared who's sentient by either. No ideology of his own, no credo or belief beyond what puts the most zeros in his Swiss account, which makes him deeply despicable or deeply useful depending on how cynical she feels on a given day. To Mentallo, the mutant nation is the latest in a long line of hustles. Amnesty is an easy out, resurrection is the ace in the hole, mutant rights are a grift, just like last time. Basically, Mentallo has no loyalty to Krakoa, and in a land with no use for money, he's got undivided loyalty to the money. So as long as she has the money, and she does, thanks to Nick Fury's black budget bank card, he'll take orders from her orders over the quiet councils. And there is no other telepath that Brian can say that about. So he technically is the best telepath she can get. But with everything going on, they're trying to figure. They are making plans, and well, one of the symbiote dragons attacks the peak. Gets blasted out. It gets blasted by the peak's defenses. And yep. Random, Risque, Frenzy, Pybok, and Fabian Cortez are heading down to Krakoa to, do what they can to stop it, or to stop things, or to try and be good, be heroes and save the day. Meanwhile, Mentallo is being held back though because Brian wants to talk to him. She tells him that she's lowering her mental defenses and to read her surface thoughts and look for Protocol V. He does. And explain, and he simply states that what Protocol V is unthinkable. She adds, and yet she thought it. Basically saying, Null's been destroying planets on his way to Earth. What's to stop him from destroying Earth itself? And Mentallo's like, the heroes? And Bran states heroes can fail. She has the plan for that outcome, which is what Protocol V is. The plan. Survival of humanity in the face of planetary genocide. And she even straight up tells him that if she had her way of things, she wouldn't be talking to Mentallo about Protocol V. She'd be talking to Cable about it. So she wants him to prove her wrong about it. On Krakoa, they are fighting one of the symbiote dragons, and it's taking a handful of them to take it down. Magneto, Sunfire, and Banshee. But Sunfire gets injured, and so Fabian Cortez basically goes in and gives him a non-addictive power boost. And that takes out the dragon. There's also a write-up about Fabian Cortez from Brand, personnel notes. Basically, he has the exact power set required for the vital exploration and retrieval missions they're conducting in higher space. They need him on board. However, unfortunately, he's a treacherous sack of yuppie pus who won't have any back or kiss any ass for Earth-tasted power. Brand has some potential replacements, but yeah. Michael Nolan can't control the addictive nature of his power amplification, and he's unwilling to cooperate with Krakoan authority after learning that since his wife is a baseline human, or his ex-wife is a baseline human, she can't be resurrected. Then you got Brian Dunlop, aka Boost, who amplifies powers by merging bodily with other mutants. As such, only one at a time. Still useful, though. Next up, Absalom Mercator, aka Mr. M. Unavailable, whereabouts unknown. There's a redacted entry. Somebody says, primary loyalty is most likely redacted. She fits all other criteria with the added bonus that redacted, and there's a mention of Snark War, and then more that's redacted. Elsewhere on Krakoa, in the Arbor Magna, in the hatchery, the five are they're kind of lamenting the fact they had to wait out everything, but at the same time they understand why. It's like they don't want to sit around, and not get involved, but at the same time they know that they kind of have to sit around and not get involved because of how important they are to Krakoa. When Mentallo shows up in his think tank, it's not about how it's more Mentallo, and it's like, yeah, really, dude, really. But he tells the five, get on board. This is Protocol V. Magneto and Cortez have a brief chat on Krakoa with Frenzy. Namely, Cortez states that he would like to speak to the council in regard to certain national policy matters, mainly pertaining to, as he puts it, flat scans. Magneto says that maybe that could be constructive or instructive, while Frenzy watches, and it's like, yeah, history repeating. Now, for those unaware, Cortez once amped up Magneto to the point of, while getting him addicted to the amplification abilities. Basically, amped him up to a point where he was, well, basically he ended up, it was all a ruse to end up burning Magneto out and kill him for the Upstarts game. And he was thought to be dead for, comic time will call it like 6 months or so. Anyway, as Frenzy's lamenting everything that's going on, Cable, or rather the nullified Cable, steps through one of the gates and simply says, "To me, my X-Men." That's where that issue ends. Which brings us to the King in Black #3 itself. And yeah, Thor shows up. Doesn't mean things go well, but Thor shows up. So, the issue is narrated by a largely unseen narrator. The end of the issue will explain who the narrator is. Seems to be omniscient, but they've got a plan. Then they're going to have to use Dylan for it. So, Dylan and Spider-Man and Wolverine are Dylan's front line of defense. They encounter the nullified Cap. And Dylan frees him. However, he just let his presence be known to Null, who of course comes for him, and then Thor and Null duke it out. Two gods. There's actually a great moment where Thor says to Null, "So you're a god and a king. Good for you." From one god king to another. Yeah, Null hands Thor his ass. I mean, it's not like it's an easy, an easy win. But yeah, he does get his ass handed to him. Culminating in Thor being reintroduced to the All Black, the Necro Sword, as he's run through by it. And yeah, the Celestials are attacking as well, but Tony Stark has a plan. His Extremis wired symbiote dragon slammed into one of the Celestials. He takes it over, and well, rock'em sock'em Celestials. But Null has got Dylan. However, Hugo and Munin show up, and Thor tells them to find him. And they do. And the Silver Surfer is on his way. Now, bear in mind, the Silver Surfer has faced Null before, back at the beginning of time. Then next we've got Black Cat number 2. So Black Cat has been entrusted with rescuing Doctor Strange from Null, who has Strange in prison atop the Chrysler building in a giant ball of symbiote goo. So they go to Dr. Steve, the foremost scientific expert on symbiotes. He's got something that might work. It's basically the anti-venom. It's the anti-venom suit, and it's not. Sadly, it's not as stable as he would like. It won't last too long. It's not going to last too long, so she's going to have to be quick about things. But it turns out that both Black Cat and her tech guy Doc are fond of Doctor Strange's ghost dog, Bats. In fact, Bats and Doc play chess together. So, and Black Cat gets to use a goblin glider to fly up to the symbiote prison. Along the way, she activates one of her 2 anti-venom orbs. Basically gets inside. Bats manages to find Doctor Strange, leads Black Cat to him, and she uses the other anti-venom orb on Doctor Strange, and they get him out. And they get rescued in the Spider-Mobile, which does get a little wrecked. Pete's not going to be happy. But they've also got a wand that they're supposed to give to, have Doctor Strange use. Problem is, Doctor Strange is still unconscious. Turns out the wand itself is Asgardian. Bats, everyone basically says, yeah, maybe don't use the magic thingy. But, I mean, Doctor Strange is out like a light, so, yeah. She uses it and gets Asgarded up. And that's where the issue ends. Next we've got Return of the Valkyries, number 1. While going to escort the soul of Robert Reynolds, Jane Foster has to deal with, we have 2 separate stories. One that involves a Valkyrie much along the lines of the Valkyrie seen in Thor Ragnarok, and the other focusing on Jane Foster, picking up the soul of Sentry after his death in King in Black #1. As Jane and Bob make their way through, though, they find the headless corpse of a Celestial that's being assaulted by by Null's symbiote goop, and well, yeah. Valkyrie has some flashbacks to some additional flashbacks. Jane fights the creature. Sentry tries to get involved as well, but he gets basically taken it. He gets sucked in by it. So now Jane's got to find him, and she crashes through to where the other Valkyrie is. And they end up swapping places, basically. So now the other Valkyrie is... well, sort of. The other Valkyrie is now out. And as she's... luckily, Jane is able to escape. And now they have to go and, well, rescue the Sentry's soul and you know, figure everything else out. And as I understand, this miniseries is also going to include Danny Moonstar, and I think maybe at least one other. Next up, we got Thunderbolts. Oh, King of Black Thunderbolts. Honestly, one of the funnest tie-ins I've read. One of the funnest books I've read in a while. Mayor Fisk recruits himself a team of Thunderbolts to save the city. Tells them, though, you know, hey, I've outlawed masked heroes, masked vigilantes, so no masks. His team consists of Taskmaster, Mr. Fear, Star, Rhino, and Batroc, as well as who was that other loser? Ampere. Incendiary, a flame-based villain. When he's told what's going on, he's like, yeah, you know what? Just send me to jail. This is out of my league. And he attempts to escape and is shot by the guards. So, yeah, and Ampere's about to, you know, also make say, hey, yeah, this is above my pay grade. Yeah, he changed his mind. Then they're as the team makes it to the city, their teleporter is probably eaten by one of the symbiote dragons. Star manages to take the dragon down, but it wins her. And so Ampere decides, okay, you know, if our heavy hitter just got winded taking out one of these things, I'm out. Ain't no point. If we survive, hey, yeah, Fisk can kill me. I don't care. So Mr. Fear kills him. But they take his gear and distribute it amongst them. And then Rhino decides he's also out. And well, to be perfectly honest, yeah, Taskmaster just says, oh, hey, you know what? That's fine, big guy. You go on and get on. You don't have to be with us. The Thunderbolts come upon a Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones taking on some of the nullified populace, and it's not going well. And they're discovered by the nullified corpse of Ampere. Also, Batroc and Taskmaster are wearing Ampere's gear, which is electricity based. So when it's extra effective when Taskmaster cuts off venomized Ampere's head, and they discover that it's Ampere underneath. And Batroc learns that there's actually one, it's a symbiote thing, and two, there's actually someone in the Venom symbiote. That's not just a big walking pile of goo. But they make it to a boat, they head to Ravencroft, where they have to go and get someone to help them, someone who has experience with alien invasions. Norman Osborn. That's where the issue ends. Then we've got Planet of the Symbiotes #1. It's an anthology series, a bunch of short stories. The first one focuses on Scream facing off against the other Life Foundation symbiotes. They're harassing families with small children looking for Dylan Brock, but they don't really. It's usually a case of they don't discover until after having already slaughtered portions of the other families that, oh no, that's not Dylan Brock. But yeah, Scream saves the kid. Ends up being forced to rebond with the other 4 Life Foundation symbiotes, and then she uses her host's flame powers to burn her way out. But some of the goop of the other 4 remains and makes its way down an open manhole. Then at Ravencroft, in the beginning of the invasion, Null with help from one of his cultists, resurrects Cortland Cassidy, claiming that no one has spread more death and destruction or darkness in Null's name than Cortland Cassidy. And so, he's resurrected by Null and given a new name, Plague. And he uses his life force sapping powers on one of the on the cultist who was there, as well as the warden, John Jameson, and tries to use it on Misty Knight as well as others, but Plague is surrounded, and so realizes, okay, better idea, not leave and not waste my time here. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that factors into the rest of the story, the event. I really hope it actually factors in too. Next up, we've got, for our final book, Venom versus Carnage. So, Ghost Spider, or Spider-Gwen if you prefer, wears an artificial symbiote costume. On her Earth, Eddie Brock made an artificial symbiote. But yeah, it's basically it basically does the same thing as the Venom symbiote. So, Gwen's been living on Earth 616 for a little while after being basically tossed off of her own Earth by Johnny and Sue Storm. She does have plans to go back, but yeah, it's probably gonna be a while. So, also, the Jackal from Earth 616 made his way over there and in fact killed his Earth 65 counterpart. But basically, Ghost Spider's doing recon and tries to save someone, but yeah, the symbiote goop, no, it's a bit too strong. She goes back to her roommates, doing the whole secret identity bit, but then a symbiote dragon bursts through the window. She heroes up, tries to save them, but no, they get covered in goop. But she continues fighting. She has to continue her fight against the dragon. And something odd happens. Apparently, the Jackal ended up picking up a sample of Ghost Spider's costume, but then exposed it to the Order 65 version of Mary Jane Watson. And suddenly, Mary Jane vanished in a dimensional vortex. And basically jumps out of Gwen's body. But Null manages to link up to MJ and dubs Earth 65 MJ, rechristens her in the name of his most devout follower and favorite child, Carnage. And that is where the issue ends. And that's it for the month 2 recap on King in Black. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. Tomorrow we will be back with tomorrow and the next day we will be back with the weekly comic book roundup. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.